Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of the Bobby Bones Show.
It's in the way that you are me. It's in the way that you are me. It's in the way that you are me. And it hurts me when I see. It's in the way that you are me. It's in the way that you are me. It's in the way that you are me. And it hurts me when I see.
Welcome to the Rock and Review. I'm hanging out with Chris Mitchell, the owner of Cat Amplifiers and CMG Guitars, an award-winning guitarist with a brand new album out, The Pieces of Small Town. Right. And we also have Johnny Garcia, who is the music director for Trisha Yearwood and lead guitarist, and also in his spare time tours with Garth Brooks and plays lead guitar also, Johnny. Oh, nice. And besides your publishing company and songwriting and helping other artists,
right? A little busy, but that's great. I love it.
Well, it's so much fun having you guys both on here and being able to hear the new amplifier also, Chris, the new Packer that just came out.
Yeah, we did. We released this summer for Summer NAMM. You know, as this is a small amp. We named this one after my dog because he's a little guy. We named
which some of the family are not happy about.
No, my nieces and nephews are asking me when they're going to get one, and I'm like, well, it depends on when I get invited to the wedding or not. You know, so I'm trying to maintain the cool uncle status.
Right,
you know?
Right.
But yeah, it's this one's at 46 pounds. So as I turned 44 this year, so I'm trying to get a lighter, smaller amp.
I am all about that. Well, and also for Johnny, you tour all the time, Johnny, and also in the studio, you've been using the Cat Amplifiers for a while.
I have. I recommend them highly. Guitar players, do yourself a favor and go try one of these guys out. He can tell you where to find them, but I love these guys, and all the models. The Francine is the one I gravitate to, but
yeah.
Yeah, when he had originally, Johnny had come to the factory, and we have a small factory in Georgia, and he'd come to the factory, and we share, like I said, a mutual, a former student of mine. We, as I said earlier, education is extremely important in what we do.
Oh, yeah. And you've got like 200 students
we
also.
do. We have 200 students at Plaid Dot, and so it's really important to me, and one of one of the girls that he was producing and working with, still working with, Amy Taylor, who's a great musician in her own right, she introduced me to Johnny. He came down the factory, and he said the funniest thing. I'll never forget when you said this to me. He said,
"Oh no."
No, this is funny. He said, we had this new 15 watt that we were coming out with called the Mean Gene, and he said that's really nice. He said, but I could really use a 30 watt amp. And I was like, with Johnny, I said, you guys have the biggest sound system on the planet. I was like, why do you need a 30 watt amp? And he said something I'll never forget. He said, well, Chris, sometimes the audience comes back to us at 130 decibels and I can't hear anything. And I went, I've never had that problem.
Well, you know what? Me either. Much like when I saw Johnny on stage with Garth a year or two ago, and it's like, yeah, that crowd was a little loud because it was sold out in the Bridgestone.
Oh, man, yeah.
And you were playing with Garth and with Trisha.
Oh, yeah, yes. Right.
And had your Cat amplifier up there. That was like kind of a big stage, man.
Man, they do get loud. My goodness. And
that's good.
Garth knows
so you need a little bit extra push on the amplifier then.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
you did say you played it in that Notre Dame show,
I did,
right?
Yeah,
I saw it on stage, so I was like taking pictures of the screen of the stage, man. I was.
Well, I got to bring this up too, Johnny, to where, you started playing guitar when you were like 2 or 3 years old, and your brothers and your dad were musicians also.
Yes, they were. I was the youngest of them, and my dad was this soulful guitarist that it just, as a kid, he would just, kind of just grab me and not let go, and I didn't understand what it was, right?
Yeah.
But it's just, man, he had that thing,
Well, you've been with Trisha.
This much from him,
I think you got more than that. But you've been with Trisha Yearwood since the beginning, right?
Since day one, yeah. I came up and auditioned in June of '91, auditioned on a Monday and never went back.
So you never went back to Texas after that? You moved to Nashville?
I did, yeah.
And you have your studio and publishing company here also when you're not out on tour?
Yes, producing records, writing, lots of sessions, a lot of fun stuff. I have a studio by my place. It stays real busy as well, so.
I don't know how you juggle it all, Johnny.
I love it. It's
amazing. And Chris, I got to ask you too about your album that just came out this year, The Pieces of Small Town. I really enjoyed listening to this. And you've got so many fun songs in here. Like I really found like Evel Knievel was such an interesting song, and These Chains.
Thank you.
And so many of these songs that you have on here, some of them felt knowing you, almost felt autobiographical.
The album is extremely it is autobiographical.
And you worked with some of your friends, too, that you've known for years that played on this, along with your wife.
I did, yeah. I play with, I've always played with the people that I'm friends with. It's never really about a sterile environment with me. It's always about, I was in the studio tracking when Brian came in, and my best friend, Brian Hendricks, he came in and he played he was tracking one of the bass lines, and I know this sounds a little, corny, I guess, but as he's tracking, I realized all of a sudden the connection that he and I had all these years when I'd worked with other musicians, and I'm sitting there crying over his bass line. I'm behind him, he's in front of the console, and I'm in back wiping my eyes,
Oh my gosh.
and just because music is such a personal art for me. It's what I'm a musician first and foremost. And
I really like the pictures on the inside also.
That's right.
That we saw. It's just those are so incredible.
Now you mentioned these chains. That's my mom. She was a church pianist all her life. So that's me playing that same piano that she was the church pianist for when I was 12.
Wow.
And I went back and recorded on that piano for this album.
How amazing.
So yeah.
And also in between having Devil Cat amplifiers and CMG guitars, you also have your school and business where over 200 students.
That's right.
And then in between, you also gig with your band.
Right.
And you're an award-winning guitarist too.
We do about 100. I still do about 100 performances a year.
Wow.
And so I've got 4 this week when I get back. And so obviously the session day here, and then drive back to Georgia today, and then and it's like Johnny said. I think obviously we're on different levels. Johnny is on, he's doing the huge arena shows, and after this past weekend, I tell you that's a work in of itself. I mean, it really is. It's an art form in and of itself to do that show. But I think musicians are kind of like that. I think because I think you take the gigs too because you don't know whenever they're not going to call.
Absolutely.
And I tell Ashley that. She says, "Why do you take every gig that comes your way?" And I said, "Well, there might be one day where they don't call.
Exactly.
And, I got to take the gig.
Yeah, because just in case.
Just in case.
It's kind of interesting too, though, how the amplifiers, hooked you guys together. Because I remember when you and I first met, and you were first rolling out your amplifiers. You and Ashley at one of the shows. And to me, anytime you see a family company coming out like that and putting your heart into it, and obviously you loved what you were doing, it's like, okay, this is my heart, this is what I'm doing. And also the way you were naming the amplifiers.
After people, yeah.
After people, and I thought, man, it's a cool angle.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I look at it as this, these people have had a tremendous impact in my life. Johnny, he played the Francine at the Notre Dame show, and that's named after Lane White's, our engineer's wife. The Gussie, my Aunt Gussie, the Gussie 317 is named after my sweetest aunt in the planet. Never heard her say a coarse word about anything or anybody, And so to me, their instruments are personal. Like this is the Ashley. I figure if there's a guitar I'm going to hold close, it's going to be the Ashley. And then of course our newest model is named after my mom, the Diane. And so and then I've got one named after my brother, the Mark. So
I think that it gives it that personal touch. Not with your music and also with the instruments and the amplifiers you create. Because then people feel more tuned in. Because you guys were packed at the last NAMM show here in Nashville at Summer NAMM. Your booth was full the whole time.
We're fortunate that that our guitars are sold out 6 months in advance usually, and the amps are doing really well. We've got the new wah pedal coming out too. We're excited about it because we're able to offer something in the Devil Cat line that's a little more affordable. That's maybe approachable for a lot.
So
more
we're going to get to
musicians.
hear Johnny using the wah.
I hope so. I hope so. Yeah, that'd be great.
I'll be wah-wah-wing all over the place.
Now, Johnny, I've got to ask this. In between all the stuff you have going as well, are you going to be kicking out any solo work in the near future, or are you doing more producing?
We were just talking about that backstage. About 3 years ago, I cut the first 5 sides for my record. I'm always busy cutting other people's records.
I know.
So I'm 5 sides in. I'm going to do another 3 or 4, and I will come over here with you.
Oh, that'll be great. I'll tell you what, because I love hearing you play guitar, and I think it's so great as well, Johnny, that you help out other artists through your publishing and through your studio and everything else in your spare time when you're not touring with A-list musicians.
That's right.
Like Trisha Yearwood and Garth Brooks.
I'm just a blessed, fortunate guy, man. I thought I was busy until I learned about this guy.
Well, it's crazy. I don't know how you guys juggle it all. I feel bad now that I'm not doing enough. So I'm going to have to take on more interviews.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's going to be 10 a week every week.
Yeah. It's like the sleep is overrated.
That's right.
Do you think you'll ever make an amp called the Eric and the Johnny?
Hey, I know I'll be making
I don't know,
one
man.
called the Johnny.
Dogs and nieces and nephews are already ahead of me.
They're going to be mad. Who is Johnny?
Yeah, who's Johnny?
Family named Johnny.
It's so awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, be sure and check out Chris Mitchell's new album, The Pieces of Small Town. Also, the Amplifiers, the new Packer by Devil Cat, and the guitarist CMG. And obviously, with Johnny Garcia, you want to see him on tour with Trisha Yearwood on the amazing tour they're on right now. So he'll be the music director and up there rocking the guitar as well. Two great guys. Thanks for watching The Rock Review.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Sponsored by the Big 98, Nashville's #1 for new country and the home of a Bobby Bones Show.